Ghana has chosen a familiar face as its new leader, John Dramani Mahama, who previously held the presidency back in 2012. His return to power has sparked a variety of reactions across the nation. Some are optimistic, seeing this as a chance for a new beginning, while others remain skeptical, questioning whether he can tackle the pressing economic issues Ghana faces today. While it's too early to tell President Mahama's exact path, his recent remarks have offered some clues, especially concerning Ghana's ties with its northern neighbor, Burkina Faso. In a recent address, Mahama criticized his predecessor, Akufo-Addo, for straining the relationship between Ghana and Burkina Faso. He is strongly committed to mending these ties and fostering a better partnership. So, who is John Dramani Mahama, and what are his plans for working with President Traore of Burkina Faso? Let's explore his background and vision to get a clearer picture. On December 9, 2024, Ghana's Electoral Commission announced that John Mahama, a former president and the opposition leader, had won the presidential election held on December 7th. Mahama emerged victorious with 56.6% of the votes, defeating Vice President Mahamudu Bawumia, who garnered 41.6% while running for the ruling party, NPP. In his victory speech, Mahama expressed humility, acknowledging that he and his party, the National Democratic Congress, NDC, had achieved one of the most significant results in Ghana's electoral history. He also highlighted a historic milestone for the country, the election of its first female vice president, John Nana Opoku Agyemang. This win marks the fourth time Mahama has run for the presidency. His political journey began as vice president in 2009 under President John Atta Mills, who passed away in office. Mahama then completed Mills's term and successfully ran for president in 2012, defeating Nana Akufo-Addo. However, he faced defeats in both the 2016 and 2020 elections to the now outgoing President Akufo-Addo. Mahama's campaign heavily focused on the state of Ghana's economy, which has been struggling with high debt, an IMF bailout, rampant inflation, youth unemployment, and environmental damage caused by illegal gold mining, known locally as galamsey. These activities have not only harmed the environment but also contaminated crucial water sources, prompting protests just before the election. After Mahama's victory, his opponent, Vice President Bawumia, called to concede and congratulate him, a gesture that helped ease tensions, similar to the concession made by Nigeria's Goodluck Jonathan in the 2015 elections. Although Mahama's precise plans for his presidency remain somewhat unclear, his recent comments suggest a focus on repairing diplomatic relations with Burkina Faso, which were strained under Akufo-Addo's administration. In a sharp critique of his predecessor, Mahama accused the previous government of mishandling these relations and creating unnecessary tension. We should be working more closely with Burkina Faso, but the former administration caused friction between our countries, Mahama remarked. Our president made some unfortunate comments that didn't help the situation. This blunt critique indicates Mahama's disapproval of leaders who align too closely with foreign powers like the United States, hinting at a shift in Ghana's foreign policy approach under his leadership. Before we dive deeper into what this could mean for Ghana, don't forget to like this video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to our channel for more updates. President Dramani pointed out that President Akufo's actions had stirred tensions between Ghana and Burkina Faso, and although Akufo eventually apologized, the bond between the two countries remains strained. Dramani emphasized the need for Ghana, under his new administration, to take proactive steps in mending this relationship by reaching out to Burkina Faso to renew diplomatic ties. This proactive approach is truly commendable. It's the kind of unity we long to see among African nations. In another interview, Dramani echoed the same sentiments, underscoring that restoring ties with Burkina Faso is high on his agenda. We need to enhance our relationship with Burkina Faso and at the same time, bolster our security measures to manage our borders effectively. Resolving the crisis in Burkina Faso is crucial for our mutual stability. This perspective is refreshing, considering how rare it is for African leaders to show genuine concern for the insecurity plaguing Burkina Faso and the broader Sahel region. The West African bloc Ecowas has largely remained passive, merely joining foreign nations in condemning the recent coups, rather than taking actionable steps to address the root causes of the crisis. Where is the much-talked-about African unity in these moments of crisis? If African nations had joined forces to tackle the insecurity starting in Mali back in 2012, the turmoil in the Sahel could have been resolved long ago. Instead, each country seems left to struggle alone, even when the weight of these challenges is clearly overwhelming. African Africa can improve, but this requires collaboration. That's why President Dramani's commitment to rebuilding diplomatic ties with Burkina Faso deserves praise. His actions starkly contrast with those of his predecessor, President Akufo-Addo, whose approach was far less conciliatory. While the world was grappling with the shock of yet another coup in Burkina Faso, President Akufo made a controversial statement not on national television, but at an international summit between the United States and Africa. This move was perceived as Ghana reporting Burkina Faso to the U.S., portraying an unfortunate dynamic where Burkina Faso seemed like a child being chastised by a parental figure, the U.S. Such actions only serve to deepen divisions rather than foster the unity that Africa so desperately needs. Dramani's diplomatic focus marks a hopeful shift toward rebuilding trust and cooperation among neighboring countries. Former President Akufo-Addo claimed that Burkina Faso's leader, Ibrahim Traore, and his military allegedly enlisted the help of Russian mercenaries from the infamous Wagner Group to combat the country's insurgency. He suggested that a mine in the southern region of Burkina Faso was used as payment for these services. However, Akufo-Addo never disclosed the source of his information, leaving many to question the accuracy of his statement. His remarks, unsurprisingly, led to a diplomatic strain between Ghana and Burkina Faso, two nations that had previously enjoyed a stable relationship. President Traore initially chose not to respond directly, yet the Burkina Faso government expressed its disappointment, criticizing Akufo-Addo for not addressing such a sensitive matter privately before going public with such serious accusations. Instead of bringing these concerns to the U.S., a NATO member with ambitions to expand its military influence in Africa, why didn't Akufo-Addo approach Traore directly to discuss his grievances? This incident highlights the Ghanaian president's perceived weakness, suggesting he may have been under the sway of Western powers. Regardless of the intention, the relationship between the two neighboring countries was undeniably damaged. Traore later addressed the situation, firmly stating, "If the Russians want access to our mines, they follow our mining code. They apply, get licenses, and pay taxes like everyone else. We don't give anything away for free." He took the opportunity to reaffirm Burkina Faso's commitment to sovereignty, boldly declaring that they would rather choose death over becoming subservient to any foreign power. His words struck a chord, reflecting a strong sense of national pride and resilience, earning him respect from many who value such integrity and honesty. Addressing the allegations, Traore made it clear that Burkina Faso's military dealings were transparent and lawful, contrary to the portrayal by some media outlets. The narrative suggesting Burkina Faso's cooperation with the Wagner Group, especially in connection with human rights abuses, had been perpetuated without concrete evidence. The media's portrayal of Traore and Burkina Faso often seems to underscore the ongoing insecurity, painting a grim picture. This tactic mirrors a familiar pattern, particularly used by Western nations like the U.S., which often leverage media narratives to discredit leaders who oppose their influence. This strategy, reminiscent of the campaign against Muammar Gaddafi in Libya, sees the media turning public opinion against such leaders, positioning the West as a savior in response to the supposed will of the people. Gaddafi, eccentric as he was, envisioned a united Africa with a common currency, government, and army, a vision that, some argue, made him a target. Gaddafi openly defied the West, showing no fear or submission. When the West sought to remove him easily, they labeled him a dictator and an authoritarian leader who oppressed his people. But how does a so-called dictator elevate his country's standard of living to unprecedented heights? In 2010, Libya was regarded as one of the most developed nations in the Middle East and North Africa. This recognition wasn't just symbolic. It reflected tangible progress, including a literacy rate of 88.4%, an average life expectancy of 74.5 years, gender equality, and other positive indicators. The percentage of Libyans living below the poverty line was lower than in the Netherlands. So how could Gaddafi be branded a dictator? The truth is, there was no concrete evidence to support those claims. The articles that painted him as a tyrant were merely tools to justify U.S. intervention and his subsequent overthrow. Tragically, other African leaders who should have stood by Gaddafi did not, leading to his demise. Today, Libya lies in ruins, far from the prosperity it enjoyed under Gaddafi's leadership. Captain Ibrahim Traore, seeing the potential dangers of similar accusations, wisely took steps to shield himself from such allegations. Recognizing the damage caused, President Akufo-Addo of Ghana dispatched National Security Minister Albert Kandapa to Burkina Faso to mitigate the fallout. The minister met with Traore to clarify Akufo-Addo's comments made at the U.S.-Africa Summit, a gathering Burkina Faso wasn't even invited to. This meeting was Ghana's first move to repair the strained relationship, followed by Akufo-Addo's visit to Burkina Faso in May 2023. This visit, as we mentioned earlier, was crucial. It seemed President Akufo-Addo believed that by making bold statements at the summit, The US might act against Traore. Perhaps he was genuinely concerned about the presence of Russian mercenaries near Ghana's border. Regardless of his motive, the situation has now led to an unexpected collaboration with Traore, who remains firmly in power. Although Akufo-Addo later apologized for the false accusations, it's evident that Traore sees him for what he is, a leader aligned with Western interests, particularly those of the US. This isn't the first time Akufo-Addo's actions have raised eyebrows. Recall when he stated there would be no U.S. military base in Ghana, only for reports to emerge of secret meetings with U.S. military officials about establishing a base. Such contradictions highlight a deeper issue. Leaders like Akufo-Addo often find themselves out of sync with figures like Traore, who staunchly resist Western influence. Even with the apology, Traore has likely discerned the true nature of Ghana's leadership under Akufo-Addo, another puppet dancing to the tune of the West. Ghana's new leader, Dramani is charting a fresh path, signaling his intent to mend the fractured ties between Ghana and Burkina Faso, a relationship strained under the previous administration. Mahama's words suggest a clear dedication to restoring the diplomatic bridges that had been nearly incinerated. Why is this crucial now? The answer lies in the growing security threats along Ghana's northern border with Burkina Faso. Ghana finds itself increasingly vulnerable, especially with the insurgency spilling over from Burkina Faso's volatile regions. Just an hour's drive from this border lies Bauku, a town mired in a decades-long ethnic conflict between the Mumpusi and Kasasi people. This local unrest has now escalated, with reports suggesting the involvement of foreign combatants, potentially linked to terrorist networks that are expanding from Mali into neighboring countries and coastal states south of the Sahel. Experts like Adib Sani from the Jadakai Center for Human Security and Peacebuilding warn that the situation in Bauku is a fertile ground for extremists aiming to establish a foothold in Ghana. Sani explains that Ghana has inadvertently become a transit hub for these militants, who use the country to transport arms and explosives to conflict zones such as Burkina Faso. Ghana is a crucial logistics point for these groups, Sani notes. We've seen multiple instances where materials like potassium nitrate and explosive chargers, intended for improvised explosive devices, were traced back to Ghana after being seized in Burkina Faso. According to Sani, Ghana hasn't yet become a target for these terrorist groups because it serves a different purpose, as a withdrawal zone. After staging attacks in countries like Burkina Faso, Togo, and Côte d'Ivoire, the militants retreat to Ghana to regroup and resupply before launching further assaults. Given this context, Mahama's push to heal the rift with Burkina Faso seems both logical and necessary. Ibrahim Traore, Burkina Faso's leader, has shown a strong commitment to tackling insurgency within his borders. For Ghana, fostering a cooperative relationship with such a neighbor could be a key strategy in addressing the shared security challenges that threaten both nations. Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below. If you love this video, hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe.